decentralized DAO. Good is that it attracts lots of different talent. I think that's where the positives end. The positive that I'll say about Solana is like they really care about the user experience. It actually makes me jealous.
So there's borrower, there's lender, and there's a fulfiller, right? Like
yeah, okay. So you're the white paper.
Yes.
I think 2021 cycle has perverted the community around parties, and Ethereum is like going on this like kind of like crazy path to get to where we are, to arrive at exactly where Cosmos arrived.
Are you still an Eth Maxi? Hello everyone, I'm Dheeraj, and today with me I have a special guest, Joseph Delong, who is the CTO of Astaria, and he was an ex-CTO at Sushiswap as well. That's how I got to know him. And apart from doing all the epic work he does on the tech side, I also love his shit posting and his hot takes in the Web3 ecosystem. And like what I really like about Joe is like, he speaks his mind, doesn't matter if the opinion is controversial or not, right? Like he will just put it forward. That's what I really like about him. So this is a new venture for Joseph, Astaria, DeFi platform based on intent, which is like a new technical thing which I'll ask Joseph to talk about. But welcome to the show. I'm glad we are finally doing this.
Yeah, thanks. I'm happy to be here, and yeah, thanks for having me on.
Awesome. So let's quickly get into it. So what is Astaria? For like, non-tech audience, right? Like most of my audience, no clue. Me, no clue.
So yeah, that's perfect. I'm glad you framed it that way. So Astaria at its core is over collateralized lending. We have a version that's live right now that is for specific to NFT lending. We have generalized that and are releasing our new version shortly called Astaria Intense, which is an intense-based over collateralized lending platform. So a borrower will put up their collateral, and they'll say a maximum rate that they would like to pay, or a maximum rate that they would like to pay in interest. And over a 24-hour period, that rate will go from 0 up to their maximum rate, allowing lenders to kind of come in and bid on their loan. And it is a one bid close for the loan, because it's going from 0 to their maximum rate. So any lender who comes in is bidding at proportionally, like the lower amount of time, proportional to the amount of time that is elapsed. So so borrowers and lenders can like match with each other at the optimum rate for both of them.
Awesome. So that is a key indicator, right? Like optimum rate is what you help borrowers and lenders find. So basic idea is like, you can loan against your NFTs, or you can borrow against your NFT, or like, you can like give loan to someone else, right? Like that's the basic idea. If you've used AAVE, that happens via.
So important note is our last version was NFT specific. This version can be NFTs, it can be ERC20s, it can be ERC1155s as collateral, and then you can borrow ERC20. So
very cool.
It can be kind of like any type of collateral. Right now the interface supports kind of like one collateral and one debt item of ERC 721, ERC 20, ERC 1155, and then you can borrow an ERC 20. But at the core of the contracts, they support kind of like baskets of collateral as well.
Awesome, got it. So earlier it was just NFTs and NFT/DeFi, and now you've transitioned into all possible tokens, right? Like, so tell me a little bit about that. Why? And like, whom are you competing against? Because earlier I was thinking like, hey, NFTX is kind of a competitor, but now the market opens up completely, right? Like,
so the reason for some of like the changes, like we do still support NFTs, but we are kind of like understanding, like, our first version was, we learned a lot about the market and like how and how the architecture for loans might work in a smart contract. And in doing that, we learned so much that we decided that there limiting ourselves to NFTs was not really a emergent property of the contracts. Really, the emergent property of the contracts allows you to arbitrary collateral. It's not necessarily NFT specific. And so we went that way. And also, I would say the NFT lending and borrowing market, the market doesn't really have a strong product market fit. I don't think
Yeah.
people like to collect. People probably like to access the value of their NFTs through borrowing, but so far the market is saying that NFT collateralized borrowing is mostly used as a leverage tool, or mostly used as a wash sale tool.
That makes sense, right? And I think I had messaged you as well, right? Like, which obviously you asked me question mark, what the hell do you mean? I was just asking, right? Like, is like NFT like still a small market to consider? And then I was diving
Totally.
deep, like I was asking you about like, hey, why don't you do the same thing with intents when it comes to cross chain swaps or something like that, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
so that is probably like a bigger market to conquer. But like now I know, right, like you are doing way more than NFTs, and that is pretty amazing. So
Starting soon, yeah.
so you have more things to play with, right? Like, so some interesting things I was reading, and I've been researching about intents as well, so which I think is one of the core element of your technology. Can
Mm-hmm.
you explain in plain English what are they, and like how are you guys using it?
So intents are um, conditional based orders, and that's why kind of like a lot of people come up with a meme where they say like, "Oh, a limit order is an intent." I mean, by technical definition, I think um, a limit order is an intent, but intents allow us to fight out dynamic state conditions before the order pool, which is like I think a pretty nice property, instead of making sure that you're in mempool when you start making dynamic state changes and filling on conditionals. So there are kind of two types, I would say. The type that Cowswap is built, which is like a solver that has this essentially orders, and then you have a solver that then solves for the orders, and then all the remaining orders are solved, and then the um, anything that isn't a coincidence of wants, there's no matching in that pool, then those are the remaining ones are filled through AMM pools. And then there's the other type, which is the Uniswap X design, which is a declining price auction, which in my opinion, is more optimum in design. Declining price auction allows for better price discovery. And we do that. We like that design and mirrored it in our intents auction is inclining rate. And to get more nuanced, we also have upper and lower bounds of LTV. So a borrower might say, I want to collateralize one ETH. I want to borrow 400 USDC, but I also would like to borrow up to 1,500 USDC, right? And then a lender, when they come to fill, will fill at the time-based rate, and then they can fill at any amount in between 400 and 1,500 USDC, optimizing on both the LTV and rate axes.
Okay, interesting. Uh, so let me ask a very different question, right? Like I am Dheeraj. Let's say I have a pudgy penguin, right, which
Mm-hmm.
costs 20 ETH, right? What can I come and do on your platform as a user, right? As a
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah. So you would come and it has it has a like pretty simplified interface. You would select your collateral, and when you open the collateral, it will show a list of ERC20s, and then it will show you a list of your NFTs that you have available. You would select your NFT, you'd put in the amount that you want to borrow, and then UI will give you kind of like an approximation of what LTV you're asking for. You also have to enter a rate, like what's the maximum rate that you're willing to spend on this. And then it will be, one token approval for your collateral, and then one signature. The signature will be like what kicks off the inclining rate auction, and will be used by a lender who wants to fill.
Okay, now I'll ask you questions at the end. So lender, right? Like you mentioned, so one is a user like me, someone like who wants to borrow against my NFT. One is the lender, right? Like now, let's say I'm a person who has 20 ETH and I want to earn some sweet interest on my money, right? Like, so
Sure.
what is in store for me?
So our design requires more active lenders. You can think of it more like UniV3 than UniV2 in that design. Because if I want to get matched, I kind of like have to be looking for loans, or I have to be running a bot that would allow me to like find loans that I would want to fill on. So if you had ETH, you would go to Astaria.xyz, you would click the intent feed, and you would see a list of all the intents that have been opened. But alternatively, you can, if you have terms that you would like to lend at, you also can submit your own intent under the transmit intent tab as a lender, and you will approve your tokens, you'll sign a message, and then automatically you'll get matched with if there's a match out there for a borrower for the terms that you put in, you'll automatically, our matching engine will run and match the two orders together.
Nice. That's pretty nice, right? Like, so I can also set up a new intent saying like, hey, these are my terms. I would like to get something for this, right? Like, and then people could probably choose to fulfill it or not. So, so there's borrower, there's lender, and there's like one more person who's involved, which I would like to know, a fulfiller, right? Like, what
yeah, okay. So you're the white paper. Cool.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, the fulfiller is kind of like what people might call a keeper. It really is just like sees a borrower and sees a lender, and then is able to match them together. And in our front end, you'll find that if you submit you submit an intent as a lender, you submit an intent as a borrower, and we're able to see that they match. We'll match them together as a fulfiller, and that so you won't really have to do anything. It will just like kind of become automatic for you.
So are you guys the fulfillers or like a third party?
Anybody can be a fulfiller. Yeah, anybody can be a fulfiller. We're working to externalize the API so that people can see the kind of like the loans as they're coming in. But right now it goes into the back end. But yeah, we'll act as a fulfiller, but there's no explicit requirement that we have to act as a fulfiller. So when a borrower submits an offer, or borrower submits an intent, and then a lender is browsing the transmit intent pages, or a lender happens to have seen the intent, they can like immediately go to our contracts and originate the loan. It's not required that we be the fulfiller. And it's just a nice way to automate some of the aspects of this system.
Yeah. Does a fulfiller get some kind of fee to
Yes, the fulfiller takes carry. So they'll take a 10. So of the interest that gets paid, let's say, let's use some like regular example, some simple examples to make it easy. So let's say that you're paying, let's say 30% APY on one ETH over 1 year, right? So at the end of the year, you're approximately going to owe 1.3 ETH back for your loan. Okay, so in carry, so as a fulfiller, we'll take carry, which is like 10% of the interest paid. So it would be like 0.03. Yeah, 0.03 ETH in carry.
Yeah, nice. That makes sense. Awesome. So this is great, right? Like, so I want to ask you, where do you see like people using your platform, right? Like what kind of avatars, or what kind of users are the ones who will probably try and be whales in your ecosystem? Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, I haven't really thought about it from who exactly would be the borrowers. I mean, I imagine that many of them will be people who are borrowers on other lending platforms. The benefits of Astaria Intense as a platform is that you're going to get better capital efficiency, and therefore the lender will get higher rates in compared to like pooled lending, because there's no reserve factor, there's no insurance, there's no like fee, right? And the borrower will pay a lower amount too, because there's none of the capital inefficiencies of that, because like the loans are matched kind of on a one-to-one basis. So you want to optimize your LTVs, you want to optimize your rates for lenders and borrowers. That's like, this is the solution. If you're not super concerned about what rate you're paying, and you're not super concerned about what rate you're getting paid, then traditional pooled lending might be a better solution. This is more for, and additionally, this is also for like bespoke tokens, right? So like, for instance, like I have like a Pandora bag, right? This like past week. Wouldn't it be nice if I could like, like once I exited my position, wouldn't it be great that I could short, right? Or what if when what if I wanted to collateralize Pandora and lever, right? Is this like something that you can't do in the traditional pooled lending markets? Because pooled lending markets contain risk. So whenever you have an asset in the pool, you're kind of like exposed completely to all of the like smart contract risk and price risk of all the other assets in the pool. And because this is like kind of like a one-to-one match, you're not really exposed to that risk. So that like the pooled lending protocols have this problem, and they solve it through like governance, but it means that there's like a much more thorough risk review, because like you're essentially exposing everybody who's in the pool to the exact same risk, whereas like the people who are in the loan are the only ones who are exposed to the risk in our system. So it'll allow you to do like a lot of long tail tokens. If you have like a DeFi treasury, right? Like let's say that you're sitting on like a bunch of like Sushi or Gnosis tokens or something like that, like you would be able to like take a large loan against your treasury, assuming that there's a lender who's able to fill it for you.
Interesting. Pretty interesting. Awesome. There's a whole narrative of data availability,
Mm-hmm.
and that's one. And then there is cross-chain modular blockchain theses which is opening up, right? And I did read in your like white paper, like you guys are talking about data availability, and Starport is like how you're doing it. But I just want to hear your overall theses about these two topics.
Sure. So yeah, one of the problems with NFT loans, like um, or options, like this is another thing that could be supported on Starport as a framework. And just to like back up, Starport's like the underlying framework that we built, our Astaria intents on. And the part of Starport's design was we had this design called representment. And representment is essentially a data not available strategy for managing a loan. Now, loans require like a lot of different data points, like and storage in Ethereum is really expensive. It's 20,000 gas for like a clean slot in storage, and approximately 5,000 for like writing a warm slot or a dirty slot. Sorry. And so one of the designs that we had was this representment that allows you to kind of like pack a lot of data about the loan that's describing the loan and how it should behave, using this like representment strategy. Now, there are some designs that allow you to kind of like transact on chain using, without having to represent the data. But essentially, in most cases, what you will do is that data, once a loan is originated, it becomes indexed, and then you take that data and then you represent it at the beginning of the loan. That data is hashed, and then that hash is then kind of like matched with a loan that's actually existing. And the data that you hashed and then matched against the loan, so that proved the existence of the loan. So now we also have the data that the user has just provided. Yeah, like I said, in NFT loans, there's a lot of like data to track, like rate, carry, start time, like some number of factors. If there's a liquidation, maybe a Dutch auction, maybe like a starting auction price, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, this allows you to do this allows you to manage that data very simply. And so Starport we built as a framework that we imagined that other people would be able to build other lending protocols and other like options protocols, like yeah, and so that's kind of like the origin of the design. It's helpful for Astaria intents, but like also if you want to build like a safe, gas efficient lending protocol of any design, you can build it on Starport gas efficiently and quickly.
Nice. Thank you for sharing that. And which all chains are you active on, and like where all you want to deploy? What's in the future?
We're definitely going to mainnet. I think we're going to Base, very likely Parallel. That's the list so far. But I mean, I was just transacting yesterday on mainnet and doing some transactions, and like a token approval, I think it was like $50 yesterday, which is totally an unreasonable place to be. I think we will very quickly have to migrate to L2s because I think that's like likely the future.
And then how will it work, right? Like if let's say an NFT or a ERC20 token is on mainnet, but like you still want to use the cheapness of L2, is that possible?
Yeah, totally. I mean, the Optimism, which is our OP stack, which Base is built off of, and a lot of the L2s are based off of OP stack right now. They have built-in bridge mechanisms, so you can bridge ERC20s, NFTs, etc. So you'd have to first bridge using the OP stack bridge, and then once that's done, you can then transact. It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, but there'll be trade-offs, right? Like you can't really like if there is an airdrop or something like that, you don't get it or something like that. I think
I imagine if we were at multiple places, that sort of stuff would get tracked.
Got it. Cool. Like you raised $8 million in seed funding. Congratulations. How was that journey? Is this your first time you're raising money, or
yeah? I mean, it's my first time raising money for my own startup. I'd say that it was like a lot easier to raise money than it is to achieve product market fit. That's like a very like a lot more intractable problem in my opinion, and that's kind of like what we've been working on for the last few years. We had our NFT lending platform. It was okay, and so then but now we're moving forward with our new platform that I think is like has a lot better like mechanism design, has a lot better qualities that users might want, like being able to kind of borrow against anything.
I think that's a very nice meme worthy or like a video worthy, quote worthy statement, right? Like it's easier to raise money than find product market fit. That's just
totally.
Yeah.
Awesome.
What were some like key takeaways which you learned from your previous roles which you're bringing to Astaria?
Or like I think organizational structure is so uncool, but it is like one of the most important aspects of doing anything great is structuring an organization in such a way that everyone is cooperative and incentivized to produce something that's very high quality.
Okay, got it. So can I ask you a follow-up? Like I've read a lot of hot takes from you about DAOs, right? Like, so what are some goods? What are some bads? and what are some things DAOs can change which are currently operating?
Yeah. Okay. Sure. Good is that it attracts lots of different talent. I think that's where the positives end. Like there's lots of different and interesting talent that arrives in a DAO, and that is special and very useful. The problems with DAOs begin with organizational structure. This all started back like with the original definitions of DAOs, where people think that because it's decentralized that there's no control, there's no hierarchy. It's like DAOs are everybody gets to do whatever I want, whenever I want, and the DAO has to pay me for it. And that's a huge negative. The other huge negative is like you expose yourself to organizational risk of like through liability. I think a lot of people especially in 2020 thought, oh, you'll just be anonymous and then you won't, it won't be any problem. It's like, yeah, it's going to be a huge problem. Like you can't stay anonymous for forever. Like it's very difficult to keep an anonymous persona going for a long duration, because everything that you say and do leaks a little bit about information about you. And the other part is like in anonymity, it creates a problem with like a paper cup persona. Is I don't necessarily like I have my Joseph DeLong's like reputation to protect, but if I am 0x whatever, I don't necessarily have a reputation to protect. I can just kind of put that away and I can start a new one, right? And we had instances with that in DAOs before where you have 2 or 3 people working under different pseudonyms, trying to get paid 3 or 4 times. If there was like a pretty significant it either has to go one of two ways. I think for DAOs either have to have legal recognition, which I don't think that's what they want. That's not the real end game. They have to have better coordination tools that then insulate the users from counterparty risk, which is a lot harder. There's like just so many different angles of attack, like people who are internal, who are malicious, who might be a hacker, somebody who is internal, who's like not performing, like somebody who's internal, who's like like I said before, like it's like pretending to be multiple people. Someone who is internal, who's overrepresented their skills and is not capable of delivering. Like if we're being honest, like a real decentralized DAO, have we ever seen a great product that has come from a DAO? Like a great product, like a product that go, I mean, the closest that I can think of is probably Maker, right? And like when Maker was building originally, it wasn't, it was a corporation. So and that goes back to like the decentralized autonomous corporation design that was pitched, pre-DAO.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really have any long-term positive hope for DAOs necessarily. I think that, but I also think that's a negative for the industry as well. I think there's like, it just like creates a system where we're going to like get captured by, venture. And
that's an interesting take, right? Like I'll also think about what you said later, though, not right now. Cool. So Joe, are you still an ETH maxi?
yeah, I think so. I mean, like if you like, I guess you have to think about like, what is Ethereum? Is Ethereum like Ethereum the token, the Ethereum the foundation, or is it like Ethereum the community? Like, I think most positively, yes. I wish that the architectural direction of Ethereum went a different way. I don't necessarily think the scaling roadmap is sophisticated as we anticipated, and is going to create like liquidity fragmentation problems. And maybe someone solves it with a different system, but right as it is now, there's a huge problem with liquidity fragmentation. There's essentially like a bunch of side chains, and I would really like to see some solution that kind of like tied at least synchronously or asynchronously, allowed you to transact across multiple chains in more like a load balancing fashion than like a second L1.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Cool. So, what are your takes about Solana and Cosmos or any other blockchain?
Yeah, I think the Cosmos is funny because Cosmos is like some of their architectural principles like
Mm.
have been really good, like as far back as like 2016,
Yeah,
right? Like they've like some of their architecture is like where like Ethereum is like, you know, going on this like kind of like crazy path to get to where we are.
yeah,
To arrive at exactly where Cosmos arrives in some instances is funny. Yeah, Solana, I like the positive that I'll say about Solana is like they really care about the user experience. And I think that Ethereum in general doesn't, you know, not just Ethereum, like all the chain stuff doesn't care about the user experience at all. Solana's like user experience is superior, and it actually makes me jealous in some instances. I wish that we could better coordinate to
mm,
improve the Ethereum user experience. But it like the things that you need to do to improve the user experience are a lot of like the account abstraction work, like 3074, ERC4337. Those are going to like drastically improve the user experience. Like if you've used FriendTech and you used a Privy wallet, like you've used a 4337 wallet, and it's awesome, right? It's like the greatest onboarding experience ever. That I can just kind of like, I mean, the only thing that it doesn't do is like sponsor transactions, and that's, you know, once that happens, like that's going to be great. Sponsored transactions would be, yeah, it'd be something.
but all of this is still on an L2, right? Because doing account
Hmm.
abstraction on the mainnet is
Yes,
going to be pretty expensive.
I think the reality though of L1 is it's trending that way. Like the EVM execution being on L1
It's
is
going to
in
be,
the future just going to be like exit games for fraud proofs, and ZK proofs will only be for like proving those sorts of things. And then you know, with 4844 we're going to kind of like see like a huge drive of like, you know, L2s as like the layer that only that some people, you know, only ever used in L2 and never even went on to L1. I think, yeah, I think that that's like kind of like if you think of like block space as a city, ETH mainnet is becoming, you know, more like, you know, New York City, and there are, you know, there's like a huge demand for that block space. And then in the suburbs, you know, if you know, you want to kind of like have a yard or whatever, you gotta, you know, you gotta live in Queens, right? Can't live in, you know, Manhattan.
yeah, makes sense, makes sense,
Yeah.
makes sense. Awesome. So, quickly, last two questions I'll do. Joe, can you give some advice for people who want to build future DeFi apps, or like, want to build something in this space? Future founders, future devs, or like, people listening right now, what would you say? What do you build on?
Actually, I would say find a tight knit group of friends that have aligned, you know, beliefs with you. Like I'm in the Chain Safe office right now. Aiden, Greg the Greek, Zach Cole, Johnny Ray, Maria Paula, Renee Labouve, Dean Eigenman. These are all people that are like, you know, dear to me. You know, worked with in some capacity over the years, and yeah, I like working with them. And aside from Astaria, you know, I'll have like a million projects, and working with those people, I feel like helped develop me into the person that I am now.
Wow, philosophical.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any, like, what are your opinions on conferences? Like, so many happen all over the year, all around the.
You know, like I went to my fair share of conferences. I've slowed down since.
Hmm.
You can meet like people that are just like you. Conferences is where I met those people that I just mentioned. I like had built my first like app at the first ETH Denver. So and that's what I used to like help get us in the door at Consensus, to work on ETH too. So I think they're really valuable. I think 2021 cycle has perverted the
Con-
community in a certain way around like parties exclusivity and being in like some like cabal or something. I think that's shitty, and I don't necessarily like that. When I go to a hackathon, I don't necessarily want to go see a DJ or whatever and be drinking all night. I want to work on something. I want to collaborate. I want to learn. I want to be in the talks. I want to be in the hallway track. I want to talk to everyone at every booth. I see like the party aspect is like a huge distraction.
Interesting. And you think talking to every booth helps? Like, if yes, how?
Yeah. Here's a little allegory about me. Like, I was in Berlin. I was at one of these like parties, and I was like talking to someone from EthLend then, and he was like yelling over the music into my ear how a flash loan works. Like, before I had even heard of a flash loan, I think before many people had even heard of a flash loan, and I didn't understand it, of course. It took me, some time to like figure out what that was. EthLend, I didn't know what that was at all either, which became AAVE, just for anybody who might not know. And I didn't know what EthLend was. And so, like, yeah, of course you want to like hang out and like talk to like the Uniswaps and the Vitalics and the, but really, like, the greatest Web3 company hasn't been built yet. And so, you may be standing right next to them and you just don't know.
Yeah. Interesting. That's a interesting story. I think you mentioned that on your Twitter as well. So that was
totally.
Yeah. Awesome. So one last question, or serious question, right? Which is a better podcast, this one or Bankless?
I'm sorry, you're breaking up.
No problem.
Cool.
Internet issues. I live in India. Sometimes it happens.
Yeah,
No problem.
totally. You guys are landing stuff on the moon, I heard.
No problem.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for doing this. I loved what all you mentioned, and just like the flash loans, it took you few months to understand. Some of the things you said, it will take me few months to understand, especially the Starport. No, Starport.
Starport.
Part of it. Yeah. So yeah, thank you so much. Any closing comments?
No, thank you for having me. And yeah, I guess maybe I actually said no, but I mean, yes. Yeah, thank you for having me. And I'm really appreciative that you had me on to talk. And it's been a great conversation. Thank you.
Awesome. But like, just before ending it, the Berachain co-founder Smokey said this was a better one. So yeah.
So it's a Berachain.
Berachain, yeah. You should
Okay.
definitely talk to those guys, man. They're doing.
I haven't used it. Is it live?
Yeah, the testnet is live. I'll send it to you. I'll send you the link. Check it out.
It's got good like marketing and good like I'm always a little bit fearful of things that have really good marketing. Because like,
but you would enjoy it because
really cool.
Yeah, because so it's not just good marketing. The tech is also super good, right? Like, it's exactly like your and my persona, right? Like, when you're serious, but when you're having fun, it's fun, right? Like, so they have a whole new consensus mechanism called proof of liquidity, which is pretty unique, right? Because every other L1s, L2s, they copy paste a lot of stuff,
right? Yeah,
and
totally.
Like, this is like, I was reading all of their documents and I was like, shit, my God, I don't understand.
Dude, that was the best thing that I ever did in my life. So I was like pretty dead set that I was going to leave USAA, which was the bank I was working at. I was working in their research department, and I was like helping them with like blockchain stuff. It's like, proto stuff. It's like 2017 kind of stuff. But I was like dead set that I was going to leave and I was going to join Consensus to work on, whatever we were going to work on. And so what I did was I went through and I made a list of every important white paper that was in existence at that time that regarded blockchain. Like, and this was like the way that things were published back then.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably not that way anymore. Like white paper is kind of a dead format, I think. And I just printed out like 75 of them, and I just read them all. It was like, early ZK stuff. It was like Casper FFG, which like wound up being the ETH2, Casper CBC, which wound up being like a dead end, and
Casper, I remember.
I read, Leslie Lamport, the Byzantine Generals paper, Castro Liskov, just read everything, and it made me better. I think that like a lot of people like to believe about protocols that there's some sort of like magic aspect. It's really just like, really just like kind of game theory about like, I do this, and then what is the shittiest thing that the other person can do? Like, like that's kind of the design.
Yeah. So I think you will enjoy it. Like go read their
For sure.
white paper, check out their testnet. Yeah, they're marketing as like a fun this thing, but the tech behind it is pretty crazy. And like they started as like a fun NFT project out of the Olympus DAO ecosystem. They made rebased NFTs, and like from there, like the whole concept started. And the currently the main rebased NFT, like that is being sold for like 40, 50, 60 ETH, and
it's probably expecting an airdrop of some sort, I imagine.
Yeah, but like it's going to smart money, right? Like it's not anyone buying it, right? Like, so I've seen that happening, right? Like, so it's pretty interesting. You should check it out. I will be posting the episode very soon, so you can watch the interview. And otherwise,
I'll send you. Do you know when this is going to go out?
A week or two.
Okay, perfect. Then we should be. I think we'll be launched.
So I'll release it on the day of your launch. If
oh wow, that would be great. Yeah, that'd be fantastic. Yeah, I'll keep in touch then.
Awesome. I'll just end the recording.